Okay, hello everyone. My name is Carmarco, but you can call me Marco. And let's get reading. Happy Pride, everyone. It is currently June. It is the week of it is the month, not week. It is the month of Pride. And for Pride Month, I thought I would do a reading vlog. Maybe I'll do a reading vlog every week where I try to focus on reading queer books since it is Pride Month, where we focus on queerness and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm just gonna read some queer books this month. I'm probably gonna do a vlog every week until the end of Pride, so that way I can try to read some more queer books. I do a really bad job at reading queer stuff, and I really want to get into more queer stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna try to do that. So I have a book that I checked out from the library. I have the audiobook of The Shadow of Kyoshi. This is a book in the Avatar The Last Airbender universe. In the first book, we follow the main character Kyoshi, who is bisexual, and we follow her as she tries to get revenge for the death of her friend. I'm really curious to see where the series goes in the second book. I thought the first book was phenomenal. I thought it was really amazing. I love the revenge plotlines. I love revenge plotlines. That's just kind of my thing. I also just love Kyoshi as a character. She's very emotional. She's very angry, and I just love that for her. Well, I guess I don't love that for her, but I really enjoy seeing her in that angry state and seeing her character development overall. So I'm really excited to read The Shadow of Kyoshi. I'm really curious to see where this series is going to go because there were some questions left in the first book. So the first queer graphic novel I want to read is Heartwood, Non-Binary Tales of Sylvan Fantasy. This is a comic anthology featuring non-binary stories, and from my understanding, every creator in this comic anthology is non-binary themselves as well. It seems to be just a non-binary fantasy, and the fantasy seems to be themed around nature and like the woods. It seems really interesting. I have read another book by this publisher, so this publisher focuses on making diverse comic anthologies, so I'm really excited to get more into this publisher because I do think they're doing some amazing work with diversity and making diverse comics. I'm just glad that there are more non-binary types of media nowadays. But yeah, I'm really excited to read this. I'm probably gonna start this today. Then I have two male romance manga. The first one is Our Dining Table. This is a cooking romance manga. I'm pretty sure the two main characters get together in the, yeah, it looks like they are. It doesn't seem like it's gonna be a queer baiting situation, but I'll let you know once I read it. This basically follows this brother and a friend of the brother, I believe, as they start cooking together and becoming more of a found family type scenario. I think it's gonna be one of those things where it's kind of sad because the parents aren't in the picture anymore or something like that. It seems like it's going to have a happy ending, which is all I can ask for in a queer story, you know? And then lastly, I have I Hear the Sunspot. This is another queer male romance manga. This features a deaf main character. I don't think he's completely lost his ability to hear, and basically we follow him as he meets another character. They seem to become really close and start a romance, which is also really great. I'm really excited to read this. I've just kind of realized I feel like I want to read more than just male romances, so I'm gonna pick another book to read that I want to focus on. I think, okay, what do I have that's queer? Oh my god. So I have a podcast, right? I have a podcast with my friend Mao. In the podcast, we did an episode recently called Queer Media We Think You Should Check Out This Pride Month. And in that podcast episode, we talked about queer media we think you should check out and also queer media we want to check out in the future. And one of the queer pieces of media that I want to check out in the future was The Princess and the Grilled Cheese Sandwich. This follows this main character who runs away from her home because she doesn't want to get married to a man, and she ends up cross-dressing. And while she's cross-dressing in another country, she meets the princess, and it's about the romance between the princess and the cross-dressing girl. She finds it harder to keep her identity a secret as she gets closer to the princess. This also has a huge cheese theme. It's called the grilled cheese sandwich. This character, the cross-dressing one, is called Camembert, and the princess is called Brie. So it seems like it's gonna be very cheese focused. Honestly, it seems really cheesy. But it seems really cheesy and corny, but I'm so glad queers are getting more cheesy and corny media. I feel like we don't get enough of that. I feel like I've been talking for way too long. I will read, and I will come back to you after I've read. I am back from the library and from the grocery store. I went to the library. There was a bookstore in the library, like I've mentioned many times before, and I bought 3 books. Also, I changed locations. I kind of realized earlier that I kind of stay in the exact same spot whenever I do one of these reading vlogs, and I want to change the locations I am in every now and then. So it might be hard to see what the books are from here, but I'll put pictures up on the screen if it turns out that it's hard to see what the cover looks like on here. So first of all, I got Sabrina and Corinna. This is a short story collection. It is Latina. I didn't look into this. I've heard really good reviews about this. The thing about buying books used, it's a lot harder to find diverse books. So whenever I do see a diverse book that I really want to read or that I'm kind of curious about, I end up buying it just because I want to be reading diversely. And I guess I never really mentioned this, but I mostly only buy used books, which makes it harder for me to like read more diversely. I do read from my library though. This one seems really interesting. It's called Man Tiger. So this is a magical realism story that takes place in Indonesia. It follows this main character who like can turn into a tiger. He turns into this like female white tiger. Just the concept of someone shapeshifting into a tiger and the way it was worded and everything sounded really interesting. It's also really short. I'm just really curious about this. And then the last book I got, I actually have already read. I read this a long time ago and I gave it 5 stars, but I got Deacon King Kong. This was a really amazing book. I remember it being really good. It's basically about this guy who ends up shooting a gang member, and it's about the consequences of the shooting and like basically why he shot this gang member. At least that's what I think it was. Yeah, okay, I'm remembering now. It's basically about this old church deacon who commits this violent act and the consequences it causes for the people around them. And we learn slowly why he did this and like how his mental state is. It was a really good and interesting novel. I gave this 5 stars. I strongly recommend this. I still want to read the rest of the author's books. I haven't got around to them though. But I always have wanted a physical version of this book. So when I saw it, I had to get it. So yeah, I got 3 books. One of them I have already read, but that's everything for now. I'm gonna continue reading. It's been one day. I've read 2 manga and 2 graphic novels. Let me talk about the manga first because I feel like there's this one graphic novel that I read that feels a lot like manga, and I don't mean that in a good way, but I still enjoyed it. So I want to talk about like the manga first so that I can talk about the thing I didn't like. So the first book that I read that I really liked was I Hear the Sunspot. This is a gay male-male romance about a kid who is hard of hearing and another guy he meets and how their friendship grows. So I've read around 3 manga series, or I've started 3 manga series that feature disabled main characters. So I'm on volume 8 or I think 7 of A Sign of Affection. And then I also read the first volume of Perfect World. So A Sign of Affection features a deaf main character. Perfect World, one of the main characters is a wheelchair user. And in this book, we follow someone who's hard of hearing. And I think something that I've noticed in manga that features disabled characters is that I always feel like we don't get enough of the disabled main character's perspective. I think the main problem of this was that I just wanted more from the disabled main character. Like I feel like even though we got a lot of the disabled main character's perspective, I don't know, I feel like I needed more either way. I just wish the main character who had the most importance in this story was the disabled main character and not the other main character. And I felt that way when I read Perfect World too, because that volume that I read, the main character is the main girl and not the disabled guy. And I don't know, I think the reason I feel this way is because part of me, even though I enjoy these stories, even though I have enjoyed these stories, part of me is afraid to recommend this to people because I feel like as someone who isn't disabled, I just don't know how realistic these are, and I just don't know whether or not the main characters who aren't disabled, I'm just not sure if their point of view is really supportive or like ableist, I guess. And I felt that way while reading this. I think this main character is really supportive. However, I'm not sure if his thoughts are like ableist or anything. I personally don't think they are. Again, I'm not disabled, so I can't be the sale for that. But I did really enjoy this despite that. I thought the romance was good. I just wish we get more of the disabled character's perspective in the future volumes. The next one I read was I Married My Best Friend to Shut My Parents Up. This was a female-female romance. We follow this main character who is like dealing with really strict parents, and her parents are trying to get her to marry someone, but she doesn't want to get married. I'm just so tired of my parents telling me what to do, of my parents like forcing me to do things I don't want to do. I want to do things for my own enjoyment, and the way she does this is by marrying her best friend, so that way her parents will get off her back and be like, okay, we can't control her anymore. I enjoyed this. I give it a 3.5. There's this one thing about manga that I've realized I hate in manga, and I feel like it's so common in manga, which is another issue, and that's that I feel like the dialogue is never enough for me in manga. Like, I don't know, the dialogue always feels wrong in manga. I don't know, just the way they talk or the way the dialogue is written, I don't know, never feels right. But overall, I thought this was an okay romance. There were a few really good scenes in this, but I don't know, I feel like There was also a little bit of fan service. There wasn't like huge fan service, like no one was naked, but there was still like fan service scenes, which also ticked me off. So the dialogue and the little bit of fan service, because of that, I gave it a 3.5. But I still really enjoyed this. I thought the romance was cute, and I did not hate any of the characters. I thought they were nice. And now let's talk about the princess and the grilled cheese sandwich. So like I mentioned in I Married My Best Friend to Shut My Parents Up, this graphic novel felt a lot like a manga in the sense that it also had like the dialogue that didn't feel the best in my opinion. Maybe that's just me though. So we follow this main character who cross-dresses as a guy in order to live a life of freedom, and then she starts to create a romance with the princess. This was okay. It's definitely a YA story, and I think because of that, I struggled a bit. I don't read YA anymore because the characters are a bit too immature for me. There's nothing wrong with immature characters, right? Because they are teenagers, so it's realistic for them to be a bit overdramatic. But at the same time, it's just not something that I want to really read about. Did I give this a 3 stars or a 3.5? I'm not sure. I think I give this a 3.5 because I did really enjoy the romance. I thought it was cute, but like at the same time, the characters were a bit much for me, in my opinion. And the main problem is that they live in a sexist and homophobic society, so it's about the princess, like, finally being brave enough to date this girl. And then I read another woman-loving woman series. I read Lumberjanes Volume 4. So in Lumberjanes, we follow these group of 5 to 6 characters as they go to a Girl Scout camp. And basically, in this Girl Scout camp, there are a bunch of magical things going on, and it's about them discovering the mysteries of this magical forest. So in this friend group, there are 2 characters who are both girls who are dating, and then in this volume it's revealed that another character is queer, and we learn about their relationship with their past ex, and we basically learn more about the mysteries of the world. I thought it was really solid. I felt like the last book it was meandering a lot, but this one I felt like it was really going places, so I gave it 4 stars because of that. I really did enjoy it. But anyways, that's everything I've read right now. Here's the thing, I know I went to the library yesterday, but what I didn't realize at the time is that I definitely don't have enough queer books in my collection to do a whole reading vlog where I just read queer books for a while. So I'm gonna like do some research, like Google queer novellas, because I'm really in the mood for a novella. I love Tor.com. They do really amazing queer novellas. So I think I'm gonna look into queer novellas, see if my library has any queer novellas that I haven't read yet. I'm looking for short books right now. I'm not in the mood to read something long. I'll also look into more queer graphic novels and manga. But that's everything for now. I've been recording for 10 minutes. It's been a long while. I'm sorry for rambling. Goodbye. Like I mentioned before, I want to change perspectives every now and then when it came to this vlog. I'm standing on my bed right now. This is my TBR shelf. I'm not going to pull out anything from here because I don't think I have that many queer books right here. This is mostly middle grade fantasy and stuff like that. I want to talk about what I've read recently. I did only read queer stuff recently. First of all, I read Hello Melancholic. This is a high school manga romance about this, I think, trumpet player or something like that. Something band related. I forgot. Maybe saxophone. I honestly don't remember. I'm not the best with knowing about instruments, so I'm not quite sure about everything that was in here. I enjoyed this. I give it 3 stars. Again, with manga, dialogue just wasn't for me, but I think I'm getting better at accepting the fact that the dialogue isn't the best. But I did really enjoy this. I thought it was fun. It just didn't blow me away, so I gave it 3 stars. I thought it was fine. We follow a character who is very shy and anxious. Okay, so it's obvious that the love interest has feelings for the main character, but I don't think it makes sense yet for the love interest to have feelings for that character. I feel like there's a lot that we haven't been explained to us yet, so I'm really curious to see where this goes in the next book. Next up, I read Goldie Vance Volume 1. This is a little comic. It's a mystery comic, and we follow a main character who is solving a mystery, and also she has a crush on a girl, and we follow their romance. I think the romance was a bit rushed in this one. Okay, here's the thing. I'm not sure if they're actually getting together by the end of this book, or if this is like the start of their relationship or friendship. I think they were supposed to be together by the end of this book, but I did really enjoy this. I thought it was fun. The mystery was nice. I'm someone who can like really understand mysteries and really get mysteries really quickly. However, when it comes to like historical fiction or fantasy or sci-fi mysteries, I struggle a bit more with those. And because this was a historical fiction mystery, I think I struggled a bit with it, but I still really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. I thought it was nice. Then I read Heartwood. This is a queer anthology featuring non-binary creators. I really enjoyed this. I thought the short stories were all pretty good. There were some really dark ones, which I really enjoyed, and there were some also really light-hearted ones. I just think it was a nice mix about like being non-binary and also like stories that aren't about being non-binary but feature non-binary main characters. I think they were all really great. I really enjoyed this. Gave it 4 stars. So I'm currently reading 2 books. I'm reading Escaping Exodus. This is a sci-fi book featuring a female-female romance. Really interesting so far. I think the world building is really interesting. We've basically in this world, they like switch homes every like few years or so. We're following them while they're switching into a new home. I don't quite understand everything yet, but I think I will once I get farther into this book. Currently I'm only 30 pages into this. And then one that I'm really enjoying is When Women Were Dragons. I'm not quite sure what the representation in this book is, but it does follow a female main character, so it's probably going to be something female focused. I'm 22 pages into this, and basically in this world, women randomly turn into dragons every now and then, and we're basically unpacking why women turn into dragons and like the mysteries behind it. So far, we follow a main character who has met a woman who has turned into a dragon, and we're basically learning about her childhood and when she met this dragon. There is implied abuse in this, and we follow the main character as she learns that her mother was being abused. At least that's what I'm assuming so far. I haven't gone that far into it, so I'm not quite sure. I'm really enjoying this so far. I think the idea of women being dragons is just a really cool idea. Like, it's just a really cool idea. I really love the idea. And also, when I got this from the bookstore, my local bookseller said that they really enjoyed this, and she was like, it's a really good book. So I'm also really excited to like see what she was talking about, because it does sound really interesting. There are 2 books ready for me at my library, so I'm gonna go back to my library. I know I went recently, but it's whatever. Oh, wait, I forgot to mention, I am 50% into the Shadow of Kyoshi. I'm really enjoying this. We're following her as she tries to stop a civil war from happening. I just love Kyoshi as the main character. She's really angry and dark and moody, and I love that about her. Also, I think the romance is really cute as well. I'm just curious to see where this goes in the end, because I do know the context for Avatar: The Last Airbender, the original series, and I'm pretty sure this takes place before the original series. So I'm curious to see how the Kyoshi novels leads to the Avatar: The Last Airbender original universe. That's it for now. This is my physical TBR. I should do more videos like up here, though I'm not sure how it looks, so we'll just have to wait and see. But anyways, that's everything for now. Goodbye. Okay, hello everyone. I'm ending today's vlog. I feel like this week has been a slow reading week for me, and I think that's very obvious by the fact that I haven't read any novels or nonfiction books at all this week. So I thought from now on, every week of June, I'll do a themed reading week. So I'll just say that this week was the comics and manga week, and next week is going to be the sci-fi fantasy novellas week. Not something I intended at first, but we'll just go with it for now. I read I Want to Be a Wall Volume 1 and I Want to Be a Wall Volume 2. I read Volume 1 like 2 days ago, and I was like, wow, I really enjoyed this volume. It was really good. I should read the next volume. And then I read the next volume and I was like, wow, this is really good. I should read the next volume. And I'm currently reading the 3rd volume. And the 3rd volume is the final volume. And this is such an amazing queer series. It's basically about this gay man and asexual woman who have a marriage to convenience because their parents are like kind of forcing them to get married and like trying to get them to date and stuff like that. So they decide, hey, let's just pretend that we're in love and let's get married like that. And we basically follow them as they start living together and getting used to being married, all that kind of stuff. I really enjoyed this. I thought it was great. I love the asexual representation. I think the gay representation is great as well. It's kind of sad, but at the same time, this series is very hopeful and it's very positive, even though it does have a more sad feeling. At the end of the day, they did get married to hide the fact that they're both queer. That's kind of sad, but like overall, it has a hopeful tone to it. And I think this is a very positive series. I really enjoyed it. Then I read Our Dining Table. This is a BL manga. So in this series, we follow this man who who is taking care of his little brother, and we basically follow him as he starts becoming friends with this other man. It's very much a just slice of life romance. We just follow them as they start cooking together, as they create more of a found family type feel. It was very lighthearted, it was very sweet. The Girl from the Sea, this is a graphic novel basically following this main character who's hiding the fact that she's gay when she meets a Selkie, who is like a shape-shifting otter person. I'm not quite sure, I kind of forgot. Follow them as they start their romance, and basically it's about her like trying to become more open about her queerness. This does have an outing in it, which is very frustrating, but I still enjoyed this book. The main character definitely is being a bad friend in this graphic novel, and that's kind of the point, but I feel like they didn't. I feel like there should have been a big scene where she apologized for being such a bad friend in like part of the series. Like, I understand what she's going through. At the same time, that isn't an excuse to like just be a bad friend, I guess. I do think the ending makes sense. I feel like a lot of people won't be happy with the way this graphic novel ended, but I personally really enjoyed the ending. Maybe that's just because I love sad stories, I guess. Maybe that's just me though. I'm not quite sure. It really just depends on whether or not you want something that's like completely positive or something that's a bit more negative. And then I read volume 5 and volume 6 of Lumberjanes. I think I gave volume 5 3 stars and I gave volume 6 4 stars. But in volume 5, we basically follow them as they meet some mermaids, and basically it's about the friendships that broke throughout the mermaids' history. Really okay graphic novel. Just not really my thing, I guess. I feel like this comic series is very episodic. It kind of reminds me of like shows like maybe The Amazing World of Gumball or like Adventure Time, where it's clearly an episodic story. However, there are clear plot lines coming through every now and then, and it's gonna probably end in something big and flashy at the end. So for now, it feels kind of episodic, but I definitely feel like it'll start becoming more plot focused the farther we get into the series. This 5th volume I gave 3 stars. I thought it was okay. It was just a bit too much of an episodic story for me. And then I also read volume 6. This one, I feel like the story is starting to get a bit more intense. And basically, we find out that character in this has more importance than we were let on. And I think it's gonna focus on this character's importance in the next few volumes. So I'm really curious to see how this character reacts to them being a bigger part of the plot. And I also just think the world building was great as well. So yeah, I'm really curious to see where this character goes in the future. The fact that this character gained such a big importance in the story really is what motivated me to give it 4 stars. So I'm really interested in this, and I'm really curious to see where this character goes. And honestly, I think it makes sense for this character to have such importance because they did have a big importance in one of the first volumes, and so it just makes a lot of sense to me. That's everything I read. Next week is gonna be sci-fi and fantasy novella week. Be sure to check that out. That's everything for now, so goodbye.